Or shot fire, officer down, shot fire, officer down. Got a city officer down, shot fire.
223, be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers in grid Papa uniforms.
Welcome to the Resilient Warrior Nation, a podcast dedicated to inspiring hope and healing for first responders, military veterans, and anyone facing PTSD and trauma. Hey guys, welcome to another podcast episode of the Resilient Warrior Nation. I'm your host, Mike Morgan, and as I do every episode, I like to explain why I wear the shirt. This is not a proclamation. This is the name of a company owned by a man named Eddie Penny. Eddie's a former Navy SEAL, and as I sat down to watch a podcast of the Sean Ryan Show in the spring of 23, I did not realize that Eddie was about to change the literal trajectory of my entire life. During that episode, Eddie was telling Sean about the Extortion 17 incident in which a Chinook was shot down in Afghanistan by insurgents, killing all 38 aboard, included 17 SEALs. It was the largest loss of humanity in one event ever. Included in the dead was Jason Workman, Eddie's best friend. And as Eddie recounted this story, he was upset, rightly so. He began crying, and I simultaneously began thinking about a call that I had buried 5 years before about a 2-year-old found floating in a pool, a beautiful girl named Danny Sikorsky. And there's no better way to say it. As I listened to Eddie and I thought about that story, I began crying like a baby. I'm a 30-year medically retired police officer. And I had been experiencing, at this point, I was retired about a year, periods of doubt, depression, anger, rage, general unhappiness, and I was just not sure of the origination. So as I'm listening to Eddie and I began weeping like a baby myself, I started putting two and two together rather quickly and realized I had suffered some sort of PTSD in my career. I don't like using a D because it's not a disorder. It's a normal, your body's normal response to the abnormal stimuli that you see for 30 years. But everyone knows it as PTSD, so I will address it as such. I always mistakenly believed that PTSD was only caused by seeing your brother or sister next to you get killed. Mine was caused by being inside the most devastatingly intimate moments of other people's lives over and over and over. Secondary trauma, if you will. So I knew that I needed help. I was not going to be this ornery guy that hated everyone and everything. I wasn't sure how I was going to go about it. I did not believe that traditional therapy was going to do it for me. I just didn't believe that talking to a man and woman sitting behind a desk telling me things I've done and seen were going to be able to help me. I'm not putting down on therapy at all. Just didn't think in this case it would be productive. So I started paying more attention to these mostly special force operators who had been talking about psychedelics as they were describing themselves as self-professed broken men coming back from war and the consequent healing journeys. I started doing research, really started paying attention, and decided that I was going to journey with ayahuasca in the early spring of 2024, March 1st to be exact. My wife and myself went to a place called Soul Quest Ayahuasca Church in Orlando, Florida, and literally changed my life during the course of that weekend. As I came out of that first journey, the universe told me that my life's purpose was to go forth and help other first responders and vets, that it had healed me from my PTSD. I don't want to say that I'm this healed individual. I go through things every single day like everyone else, but for all intents and purposes, it was telling me that my PTSD was greatly helped. So I had 2 friends and coworkers who had committed suicide 3 weeks before that journey, a week apart from my Suffolk County Police Department job. The sergeant actually killed himself in a precinct locker room. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with it because I never had any intention of entering the space. But I said okay out loud, not knowing what I was going to do or how I was going to implement it. One thing I decided to do was create a podcast to do for others what Sean Ryan's did for me. And in that, I bring on ordinary people who've done extraordinary things with their lives. We talk about the highest of highs, lowest of lows, in the hopes that you men and women who are going through it can see yourselves in them. Hopefully you'll gain some hope and inspiration and know that there is nothing spectacular about any of us, including me, who have gone through these healing journeys, but that there is hope. You could heal, you could feel again, and you can be happy. I promise you that. Never take that fucking suicide option. It is a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Everything is temporary. So in that, I'm excited to bring on my next guest, Joe Thompson. Joe's a former United States Navy Hospital Corpsman, death investigator, and Mortician, roles that place him face-to-face with trauma, loss, and the fragile reality of life. Today, he lives a very different rhythm as a farmer, musician, and worship leader, using faith and music to serve others. Joseph openly shares his personal journey through substance abuse, self-doubt, self-sabotage, and persistent suicidal ideation, and how his faith and the teachings of the Bible helped him accept the divine plan for his life. His mission is to support men's mental health and spiritual healing, walking alongside others as they work toward becoming the person they were created to be. Joseph speaks from lived experience, not theory, offering honesty, hope, and purpose to those navigating dark seasons. Joe, fantastic to have you on the show. I am very excited, brother.
Hey, thank you, brother. We finally made it. We have finally made
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, you guys don't know, but this is our third effort. We had problems yesterday with the Wi-Fi, so we postponed today. We're having the same problems. So Joe is actually, I think it's the first time I have a guest recording from a funeral home, but hopefully no dead are going to be arisen today during the course of this recording, and it'll go down smoothly, brother.
That's right. Amen, brother. Thank you. And I appreciate you having me. I'm humbled that you would have even considered me. So I've been looking forward to this and I'm ready to go.
Absolutely, brother. Well, your story needs to be told, and there's hundreds of thousands of us, if not millions, that have gone through the same thing. So again, my hopes is that someone's going to see your journey and they're going to raise their hand and get the help that they so desperately need. So please, let's talk about you as a youngster. Let everyone get to know you. We'll just go chronologically. Tell us about growing up, how you grew up, who you grew up with.
Sure, sure. I grew up in South Georgia in a little town called Tifton, Georgia. It's about maybe an hour from the Florida border, right in the south central part of the state. Had a very, very great upbringing. My mom and dad raised us in church. My dad's a farmer. I'm a fourth generation farmer now, so we grew up working hard. My mom and dad, we were in church every single Sunday, every single Wednesday. My mom played the piano, my dad led singing, and now at almost 43 years old, I'd like to think that I had nearly a perfect upbringing. And I always say this, like my dad and mom, now that I'm a parent, I don't know what I'm doing, but I thought my parents knew exactly what they were doing and they had us fooled. They felt the same way. So I feel like it was a picture perfect upbringing. Dad was tough. He was very hard on us, and I work with him every day now. He instilled hard work, dedication. If you're going to do something, you do it right the first time or you don't do it at all. And um, just a great upbringing. Great,
Excellent.
great upbringing.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy, a veteran-owned, family-run clinic led by a retired first responder. At Cutting Edge, they help men and women rebuild strength, focus, and vitality through advanced hormone therapy, peptides, and performance-based weight management. Whether you've served your country, your community, or your family, Cutting Edge helps you get your edge back safely, professionally, and with people who understand what service takes out of you. Cutting Edge offers individualized care with no monthly fees or contracts. Learn more at cuttingedgetestosteronetherapy.com. Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy, built by those who serve for those who still do. Joe, that's one thing you don't often hear when I speak to first responders and vets. And to be honest with you, I didn't realize that during the course of my career. Now that I've entered a spiritual journey, healing journey, whatever word you want to use, and I do research and I'm really familiarizing myself with people, places, and things. It is usually men and women who have suffered traumatic childhoods that propel them into these service careers, whether it's showing people that they can do what these people never thought they could, whether they're trying to, eradicate bullying or, help others survive or not be hurt by the abuse that they suffered as children, whatever the case may be. Yours is a little bit unique in that you had a great relationship with your parents and it was a great upbringing. Any trauma otherwise you kind of suffered in your childhood?
No, not really, except for probably the fact that around the age of 8 or 10 years old, I had allergies real bad, and they started giving me allergy shots, and I became a fat kid. I was that kid. I couldn't wear regular Levi's because they didn't make them in my size, and so there was a lot of bullying that went on that sort of shaped my mindset as far as when I got older. I maintained going to the gym, taking care of myself because I did come from that part of my life where I was the shorter, overweight kid that got picked on the bus and got beat up and stuff like that. But around about the ninth grade, I grew into my body and I got taller and lost that weight. But it's always in the back of my head, hey, you don't want to ever go back to feeling that way. So that's that's about it. I mean, my dad was very he was very he believed in hard work.
Right.
My dad's 77, and I've never seen him sleep in. He just took his first vacation about 3 weeks ago
In his life as
in
an adult?
as an adult in his entire
Wow.
life.
That's
He left.
crazy.
He went to Arizona for the week, but because my mom just passed away, and
Oh,
my
my
sisters
condolences.
took him. Oh, thank you. They took him to Arizona for the week, and I didn't think he was going to survive it, but he came back. He's done great, and I've never seen him sleep in. Like I've never
Jeez.
seen him sleep in my life, and
That's crazy.
so a lot of my work ethic now did develop from the upbringing. I mean, my dad was the type of guy that you did not want him to find out if you did anything wrong because he did not spare the rod, if you know what I mean. He believed in
Yep.
a good butt whooping,
Oh, yeah.
and so it was a healthy fear for sure, and never abusive. My mother was never abusive. My mother always was very, very encouraging, and I say this a lot. I'm the man that I am today because of how they believed in me. My struggles really didn't start until I left home and I was in, I was a South Georgia farm boy, started working in the funeral home when I was 16.
Wow.
And when I left, and I don't have funeral service employees in my family, this just came out of nowhere one day. And when I was 16, I called the funeral home and they offered me a job as an
Wow.
intern. And that's where I've started. And so death has been the biggest part of my life for as long as I can remember.
Damn.
And so for me, there was something comfortable about death for me. I was able to thrive in chaotic situations and thrive in basically, like I said, chaos.
Yep.
And someone told me recently that it's the norm. It's so normal for me. It's because all I've ever been used to from a formidable age of 16 years old. I had this preoccupation with death, and then it wasn't a preoccupation that was unhealthy. I just wanted to know what happened afterwards,
Okay.
and what happens behind those closed doors. And it started maybe 13 years old. My cousin was killed in a car wreck,
Oh,
and I remember looking at him in the casket, and he just didn't look right. And I remember thinking, wonder what they did. I want to get a job like that. I want to do that so I can make them look right. At 13 years old, you don't know what in the world you're getting
oh,
yourself
yeah.
into. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it started for me. And so by the time I turned 17 years old, I had seen more death in 1 year than some people see in their entire life, more death in a month than some people see. And it just always fascinated me. Um, and you have to have a morbid sense of curiosity to be able to do a job like that. But
Oh, sure.
eventually, the older I got, it became more of I want to be a servant. I
Okay.
was tired. I was tired of seeing dead kids. I was tired of seeing suicides and seeing just what it does to family members. I was tired of. I said one time, I'm tired of placing children in body bags that are too big for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, but
So let me ask you
thriving in
this.
that chaos.
As you're going through 18 years and you're getting into that, what kind of drew you to armed services?
So it started with I had tickets to go see Corn, the band Corn,
Yep.
down in Lakeland, Florida, and my sister was dating a guy that was active duty Navy. He was a steel worker. He was a CB, and we started we started the trip, and he said, "Have you ever heard of the Navy SEALs?" And I said, "No, I've never heard of them." And he started telling me about them, and dude, he had me hooked. That's what I wanted to do. Man, I started wearing combat boots. I remember the girl I was dating at the time, I jumped in her swimming pool in the middle of winter just to see how cold the water was. And
It's shocking.
something happened and I put the military stuff on the back burner. And then here at the funeral home, we had a deceased male who was active duty Army and they buried him in his uniform. And there was something that stuck out to me whenever I saw this young man, and I was like, I really have this urge to serve my country. I said something about this young guy. He was probably 20 years old, and he was in that beautiful dress uniform. And I remember thinking, had a flag across his casket. And I remember thinking, I've got to do this. And so I just like, hey, the Army has mortuary servicemen. Maybe I'll just join the Army. And so when I told my mom that I was going to join the Army, she started crying. She's like, no, you need to join the Navy or the Air Force, one of the two. That'll be better for you. I just can't think about you sleeping in a hole and all this stuff. So um, went to the Air Force. It didn't work out. Didn't do too well on my ASVAB. Math was never my strong suit.
Yep.
My recruiter was very, very pregnant. She went on maternity leave, and they didn't send nobody to replace her. So I walked next door to the Navy and said, "How fast can you get me out of here?" And it was like 2 weeks later, and I was at
Wow.
Recruit Training Command, Great Lakes, and with the intention of being a SEAL, trying out, wanted to go to Buds. But something happened, man. I did like everybody else that gets there. They're like, man, I've made a huge mistake. They ended up doing 9 years. I realized that once you get out of boot camp, that's not the real Navy.
Yep.
So that's kind of how it was the Navy. I didn't know anything really about the Navy because in 2002, YouTube wasn't a thing. They didn't have videos. I mean, the recruiters did, but they did not accurately portray how it was really going to be. So
Shockingly.
I just went. I mean, it was the most like, I honestly think my parents thought that I was BSing until I was like, hey, I'm going to MEPS. They're like, what's that? I said, that's where you go to process. And they said, hey, I'm leaving October the 8th. And it was like September the 20th. They're like, are you
Wow.
serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm going. And I went.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah,
So,
it was a ride.
and how was boot camp for you?
Besides, it was actually very easy physically. I think it was the homesickness that really kind of had a pretty strong hold on me because I had never been away from home. I mean, you got to remember, I'm from South Georgia, man. I grew up on the farm and
Yeah, country boy.
um, country boy. I'd never been away from home. But once I got out of boot camp, I still had that feeling of, man, I've really screwed up. I wonder what it would take to get out. And then I remember thinking, there is absolutely no way in hell that I'm going to go home as a quitter. I'm going to do
Yep.
my 4 years and get out. I was like, I am not. My dad is not going to have to explain to anybody that I quit.
Yeah.
So when I had that conversation with myself, I buckled in and got after it. I went to a ship. Iraq war had just taken off, and I flew to Bahrain, stayed in Bahrain for about a week, took another ship, and rode a helicopter and got on mine, and we stayed until the end of that push. And and now looking back, I'm so glad I didn't give up. Like, I'm so glad that I didn't quit.
Yeah.
Um, there's always sunshine after the rain. There's always daylight after darkness. I mean, what seems to really suck at the moment, you know, everything has an ending point. And
Oh yeah.
once
That's
I,
what's going to forge you as a man.
yeah,
Quitting when it gets tough is not going to help you out later on in
and
life.
that's so many things I think about now. I'm like, you know what, this is really hard, but this is when most people quit, and I'm not most people. Like,
Yep.
I'm gonna push through. And um, before and I'll forget to say this, DJ Shipley, I'm sure you're familiar with who DJ is. He's a former
Yeah.
Navy SEAL.
I actually met him. I
He
went to the training for with his company, and we got into a very deep discussion about our individual healing journeys that we grew up by Pensacola.
Yeah, so DJ made a comment that honestly changed my life. He said, everything that I do it with a purpose. He said, if I'm brushing my teeth, I do it with a purpose. If I do this, it's with a purpose. And when I heard that, I was like, you know what? And I began to incorporate doing things with a purpose. And it honestly changed my life, Mike. It really did. And it really just caused me to take every single task, every single job, everything that I'm doing, whether it be simple or mundane, putting the kids to bed, whatever, I do it with a purpose. And it's life changing. Um, I think about what if I would have what if I would have given up, because I saw people quit in boot camp and find a way to get out, and I'm thinking, man, I'm 43 almost. What kind of regret would I live with if I would have quit?
Yeah.
And so now I've never been a quitter, and that was when it was really forged into my mind that I will not give up. No, regardless of what I'm doing, I'm not going to give up unless I feel like the Lord's called me into a different season in my life. That's the only way that I'll quit something. Or if
Yep.
it's detrimental to my family, like I just can't do it. It's like sometimes, why do you get up so early? Well, I get up early so I can decide on what man I want to be today. I get up early, I hit the gym about 4:35, and it's so that way I can spend time in my own head and determine what man do I want to be today? Do I want to be the man that's capable and takes charge and gets things done? Or do I want to sit on the bleachers? And by the end of that workout, I've decided that I'm going to be the strong and capable man. I'm going to be the person that when people look at me, they're like, okay, it's going to be okay because he's here.
Yeah,
He's got this,
it's good
and
advice, brother. So let me ask you: you're on the ship. What was your MOS in the Navy?
so I started out undesignated, meaning I was an undesignated airman. It was the fastest way out of Tifton, Georgia, and it means that you work in the aviation field, but you don't have a job. You can, they said this, you can try all these other jobs, and then you just pick whichever one you want to do, which is not true. I
Yeah,
got, I got
you
assigned
pick.
to, yeah, I got assigned to the hangar bay on the USS Saipan. It's now decommissioned. It was an LHA, an amphibious assault ship. It was a warship. We hauled Marines and their equipment, and we dropped them off on land so they could go put foot to tail. Um, so the commercials make it look very dramatic, and there's planes, but they didn't show the commercial where you're cleaning the same room for 12 hours a day. Like they didn't show that commercial.
Shocker
Um,
again that they didn't
yeah,
show that.
so that was what I did. I was just undesignated, but I knew I wanted to be a hospital corpsman, and I heard that the hospital corpsman rating had a enlisted classification code as a mortician, and so I strived so hard, and I finally after almost 3 years, I was given the school. They allowed me to change jobs, and they said, but in order to be a mortician, you have to be fully licensed because it came with a nice promotion because there were so few of them in the Navy.
Okay.
They would bump you up from E3 to I think like E5,
Wow.
that fast. Just,
Yeah.
um, but there's only at the time like a handful of Navy morticians Navy wide. But I said that's fine. I don't. That's not even a big deal if I can't be a Navy mortician. I just want to be a Navy corpsman. So they sent me to back to Great Lakes, Illinois, to go to hospital corpsman school when it was there. It's in Texas now, but it used to be there, and that was very physically demanding because they said if you're going to serve your fellow Marines, you have to be stronger than the strongest Marine because you may be carrying somebody out. So a lot of people don't know about the hospital corpsman rating. It's a very, very rich history of valor, bravery, and bloodshed. And in fact, the Navy Hospital Corps has more medals of honor combined than any other. I mean, I think last
Wow.
I looked, it was 22 medals of honor
Jeez.
that the hospital corps has been awarded by, a lot of silver stars, a lot of Navy crosses. It's very proud, very, very proud to be a corpsman. They'd say, "Oh, you're in the Navy. Well, you're a seaman," and I'm like, no, I'm a corpsman." Like, um, and it's
So now,
earned.
as a corpsman, do you serve? Are you on a ship and you're treating these guys, or how is your actual job? Play out.
So Navy corpsmen are not only the medical support for the Navy, they're also the medical support for the Marines as well.
Okay.
So they're stationed at sea, on land, on
So you guys
air
are in
station.
combat.
Oh, absolutely. It is a
Okay.
combat rating. So the Marine Corps, as much as they hate to admit it, they are Department of the Navy. Well,
Yep.
they do not have an MOS of a medic, so it's Navy
Uh,
corpsmen. So Navy corpsmen are Fleet Marine Force qualified. They have to go to Fleet Field Medical Battalion School. So it's basically like a mini medical Marine Corps boot camp, and they are stationed with like Second Marine Division, or they're stationed within a Marine. My last duty station was Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
okay.
So
And then if you could
you,
equate that to a civilian, are you paramedic? Is that your level, or are you guys higher, lower?
yeah. So it's very interesting. So in the civilian world, like inside of the clinic or the hospital that I work in, I could do things like under a nurse's care, you can do certain things like what a advanced EMT could do or a paramedic could do. But unless we were also EMT trained and we took the national registry, but we were certified as basic. But the moment you walked out that door, you could only practice as a basic EMT. What is it? Give oxygen and oral glucose and check vitals. You couldn't put anybody on a cardiac monitor. You couldn't do any of that.
Yeah, that's what
So
I was. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess you could say an LPN maybe, a very highly trained medical assistant or LPN. But when you're out in the field, and you're at war, I mean, you're out there running and gunning with
Doing
the
everything.
Marines. You're doing everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you are stabilizing that patient to get him to some sort of battalion aid station. So you learn how to do like cracothyroidotomies. I mean, you really, really learn advanced level care. So I would say there, you're pretty much paramedic, even though you don't have it on your sleeve. You're their doc, you're their corpsman, and they will take care of you because you will run through hell and high water to get to somebody that's hurt. So
Oh yeah. Are you guys able
yeah,
to start IVs when you're out in
yes,
the field? You are,
yes,
okay.
you're
All right, so
allowed to
you're
give.
really more along the lines of paramedic level.
Yeah, you can give morphine, stuff like that. I mean, it's there. You're pretty much unleashed.
Okay.
Whatever to save somebody's life. You have advanced medical training. Nothing like 18 Delta. I think the Army goes through for, and the SEALs would go through back whenever they had the Special Operations Corpsman enlisted classification code, which was what Marcus Luttrell was. He was an 8492 Special Operations Corpsman.
Okay.
So they go through the Army's 18 Delta program that's very, very strenuous. We have general duty corpsman, then we have 8404, which is the field medical service technician, and then we have so many different areas that we can operate in: biomed, surgical tech, pharmacy tech, lab tech. I mean, you name it, the Navy has
Gotcha.
it. So
Okay.
it's just more training.
So then once you get through school, where were you assigned?
I was sent to my parent command was Fleet Hospital Portsmouth in Portsmouth, Virginia, but Portsmouth being a large naval medical center, they have branch health clinics, all over the Tidewater area. I went to Naval Air Station Oceana, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Okay.
And somebody had said, "How cool would it be to get orders to Virginia Beach?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'll never happen." And they were like, "Hey, you're going to Virginia Beach." So I went to Branch Health Clinic at the Master Jet Base and at Naval Air Station Oceana, and I was there for 3 years. Worked all over that clinic, family practice, lab, did some work in the pharmacy, and then I went to the acute care, which is like an urgent care, basically.
Okay.
And they gave me my EMT certification. They sent me to school. I passed the registry, and I was a basic EMT.
Okay.
And got my emergency vehicle operator's license. Did that, drove the ambulances, and then from there, I started at that time to really, really think about going to buds. That was a huge thing. We would have a SEAL from SEAL Team 2, I think. He would come over, and he was a PA. He was an officer. He was a physician's assistant, and he would see patients like once or twice a month. And I remember seeing him and just being like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cool."
Yeah.
Um, so that's whenever I started getting the bug. Hey, I want to go into special warfare. Maybe I'll do SWIC, maybe SEALs. I don't know which one. I just want to be a part of that. And so I began to train. I began to run, and it started getting closer to get into my window to pick orders. And I said, I want to go. I want to do this. I want to be a special operations corpsman. So we can call the detailer and try to pencil you in. And I was like, man, whatever, whatever it takes. And we had some. If I don't know if you've ever heard of a SARC corpsman, Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsman.
No.
So they're very, very. They're not very well known, but those guys are studs, man. The SARC corpsmen are crazy. So um, they're special. They go with the force reconnaissance with the Marines. They're their
Okay.
corpsmen. So there, and we had one of those guys, and I would run with him every single day, and he would try to kill me. I mean, he'd run me to death, and um, but that's whenever the issues started happening, where I started going through a divorce that was very, very tumultuous, very, very difficult. That's when I began drinking a lot more, not just socially, not just going out with your friends. I started drinking very heavily. That's whenever the doctors began to prescribe me medicine for my anxiety because everything that I was going through. If you've ever been through a divorce, you know it can get messy.
Yeah, I've been
And
there, brother.
yeah, drinking on the medication, and that's when all this sort of started, where the substance abuse began to start. It went from drinking on the weekends to drinking every single day whenever I'd get home. taking my medication, still drinking, and feeling sorry for myself, wanting attention, and it
Yep.
just began, and that's whenever things begin to shift. Because as in my bio that you read, I've always from a young age dealt with suicidal ideations to a certain degree, but there's a difference whenever you think about it and then whenever it actually becomes something you could do. Like
Yeah.
like the thought of it becomes a reality. And for
Sure.
me,
How
it
young were
came
you
with,
when you started having the ideation?
oh, probably about 12 or 13.
Wow. Now, were
Yeah.
you
And
depressed? Did you have depression, like clinical depression or diagnosed depression as a youngster?
no,
Really?
I never saw a psychiatrist until I was 24 years old.
Okay.
Just never could quite understand why I felt sad. I never could understand why, um, like you would hear about somebody committing suicide, and I would be so interested in it, like I'd be
Really?
drawn to it. It was very strange. Like it was very dark, and
Yeah,
a lot
especially a
of it had to
youngster.
do with some of the music I chose to listen to and stuff. Like the darker the better. Like I just kind of really felt like I enjoyed that feeling. I
Yep.
enjoyed that feeling of the darkness. It was very hard to explain. And so at 24, 23, 24, my life's falling apart, and I'm broke. I don't have any money. My wife and I, what I thought was going to be forever, it has just completely went up in flames. And the thought of suicide became more like, man, I could actually do this and get out of this. So
Let me
it
just
got
interject
to
for 1 second. I know you're
sure.
23 or 24 and you're thinking your life's falling apart. There's probably some people that are saying the same thing, like, yeah, your life wasn't falling apart. Like you were going through a shitty time and you
Yep.
were a young man, but your life is, especially now at the age of 57, I'm looking back now with so much life experience. It wasn't falling apart. You were going through a
Yeah.
shitty time. And I'm not trying to minimize it in any way, shape, or form.
No, no.
I've been there myself. But now you have a different perspective, having grown out of that and looking back. Like it wasn't your life was falling apart, right? When you
Uh,
kind of word it differently, now looking back.
yeah. Looking back, just looking back on it, I realized that a lot of the situations that I was in, I put myself in those situations knowing full and well that this is a bad idea. Don't do this. Like,
Yep.
and even at hindsight being 2020, making decisions like that, you can't trust your feelings, but you can trust your gut. Your
Yeah.
feelings are going to change about stuff, but that gut instinct doesn't change. And I would get myself into situations, whether it be, you know, hanging out with these people that I know that are bad for me. And I'll say this, one thing that I'm very proud of is that the military has a zero tolerance for drugs. Like drugs, illegal drugs in and of themselves, I've never had an issue with. Thankfully, it was just the alcohol mixing the medication, so I could get a more intense intoxication effect from it. But then also like, hey, if I don't wake up tomorrow, it's okay.
Right.
Like it's okay. And it finally got to the point where it was so bad, and I was cutting myself
Wow.
regularly. Um, I, I don't know, and I never could
Is that
explain
so you
because
can feel something, Joe? Are you physically cutting yourself? So do you like mentally not feeling things? So you're actually doing that to
yeah,
feel, or do you know?
I have no idea. I think
Okay.
it was just doing it. It just drew me to do it. And I remember it started out pretty small. It's like I didn't get this release that I hear some people that actually do cut themselves that are dealing with that particular issue. I hated everybody and I hated everything and I hated myself and I didn't understand why I couldn't just snap out of it. I didn't
Right.
understand. Um, and I had a good friend of mine who I'm still friends with this day that I owe my life to him because I was at that point. Like I was like being going through a divorce, trying to have another relationship during separation that was completely toxic. It was not good for me. It just kept me spiraling. I had a friend, he came and picked me up from a bar one night and he said, we're going to go see somebody. And he took me to Portsmouth Naval Medical Center, and they admitted me through a
Okay.
full detox program, and uh, pretty much had to come face to face. Everybody at my command knew like I was on the psych ward, and it was very embarrassing. In fact, what we're talking about now, I've not spoken of to anyone since. Maybe one other person knows. I've never talked about it just because I do feel like I'm on the other side of it. Um, so I don't feel the need to continue to revisit that part of my life. But
Yep.
I'm hoping that talking about this evening is going to register with somebody and let them know that, hey, it's okay that you feel this way,
Yeah.
and it's okay to ask for help. Because, man, I'm going to tell you, if it had not been for this guy who I love dearly and I owe my life to him, I don't know. I cannot answer the question, would I still be sitting here today? Because I
Well,
didn't realize how sick I had gotten.
I appreciate you
I
talking about it and letting yourself be vulnerable to do so, brother, because that can save someone's life literally who's going through it right now. I just wanted to take one step back and talk about the cutting real quick for
Sure.
someone that may know someone that's doing it right now. So, in other words, I really want to talk like the process itself. As you're doing it, are you doing it somewhere where no one could see, or is it like out in
Yeah.
the open?
Yeah. Doing it where no one could see
And where was
because,
that?
my legs,
So, is it
I've
just
got,
like, slice marks? Like if someone was to look at someone,
yeah.
what are they looking at so they could potentially know that this person is doing just
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it would be either vertical or horizontal lines in a row, and most of them would start very, very, hesitation wounds. I mean, you're familiar with hesitation
Yep.
wounds, especially
Very
like you'll
faint.
notice that. Yeah, then they'll get worse and worse, and then the more somebody cuts, they'll be definitively noticeable, and they'll be in a pattern usually. Sometimes they'll be all over, and you know that person doesn't have a job or have activities. Like my hands are busted up because I farm.
Right.
Um, so that's explainable. You would be like seeing a teenage kid with slices up and down their arm, and it's like, well, how did that happen? It's not a cat.
Yeah.
You can't blame it on the cat.
Did you have an
And
explanation ready if someone asked or if someone had seen them?
um,
And I just
no,
asked in
not
case
not.
someone else knows someone and they've heard this explanation. I was wondering if it's like a common thing that they would have.
Yeah, I didn't, but most people do. Like, I've dealt with people in my life that have cut, and it was always like, oh, it was the cat did it, or oh, I scraped my arm against this, and it's like, well, that's a pretty,
Yeah, like uniform cuts. It's
that's a
never going to
pretty
happen
clean. It's
arbitrarily.
not a yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of that, and then I ended up, I bought a machete from Walmart,
Damn.
and it was really sharp, and I just barely drug it across my leg, and I mean, it split my leg. Um, Probably about half an inch long, and it was
Oh,
probably one that I was going to need to get sutured, but I chose not to. Right across the shin, I mean, it just filleted it open, and I was like, oh my gosh! And I knew right then, I was like, oh man, this is bad. Like,
yeah.
how in the world am I going to explain this? So it ended up healing up, thankfully, but I probably could have used a couple of sutures in it, but. Um, my friend that who had reported me, who had didn't report me, but he took me to the hospital. He saw it, and that kind of was like, okay, I got to help you,
Yeah.
and I'm forever grateful for him because he could have just went home and been like, he's okay. And
Yeah.
I'd like to tell you that after that initial, hospitalization, went through substance abuse rehabilitation, I was classified as not only having adjustment disorders with anxiety, I also had two different sorts of psychiatric issues and also substance abuse. So my path was a little bit different. So I had to do substance abuse rehabilitation on top of psychiatric intensive outpatient therapy.
Okay.
They just couldn't figure out like what it was. They tried to say, that I had depression, so they'd prescribe me this, and they said, no, you're bipolar, and they prescribed me that. And if you're not bipolar and you take bipolar medicine, it really messes you up. And then you drink on top of that,
Oh,
it makes it even worse.
disaster
So
recipe.
yeah. I mean, it was a ticking time bomb, and we had this captain, a full bird captain in the Navy, which would be a colonel in all your other branches. He was our he was my primary care physician, and he was the first person that ever like sat and talked to me and listened when I talked. And he did a lot of blood tests to make sure my thyroid was okay and that there was nothing else that could be contributing. Um, and he come up with a plan for me, and he changed some medications out, and things began to get a little bit better. But then one day I told him, I said, you know what, I just don't want to take medication anymore. I said, I'm tired of feeling this way. By the grace of God, I said, I'm going to be better. Like, I've had enough. I've had enough. I was tired of putting up with myself, and it
Yep.
wasn't to die. It was to finally become the person that I know that I could be. And we dance. I mean, and I've struggled for many, many years going that route. But one day, it was July the 10th, or excuse me, July the 5th, 2010. I made the decision that today was the day that I'm drawing the line in the sand and I'm not walking over it anymore. I'm going to become the person that I know that I was created to be, whether you believe in God or not. Um, my testimony is that I finally decided to become the man that God told me that I was. And so that's my story. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be everybody's story. If you don't believe
Of
it's
course.
not my job to convince you. It's not
Yeah.
my job. I can only speak of
You're never
what,
going to anyway, so
yeah,
no use
yeah.
in trying.
And then I realized that as I began to read um, and find out who I was created to be, my path became a lot more straighter for me. I began to understand that the war is not the war is within my heart and within my mind. It's whose expectations am I living up to? Am I living up to um, who the world says I should be, or am I living up to the expectation as who God declares that I am? And for me, that began to set a straight path for me. And I've always said, when we trust in the Lord, He makes our path straight.
Yep.
Um, doesn't mean that it's easy. Doesn't mean that it's the most smooth path, but at least it's straight because I realized that every time I tried to figure it out on my own, I wound up walked off in a totally different direction, was completely lost. And that's why I just realized that I'm not in control of anything except for keeping my eyes fixed and walking the straight path that has been laid out before me.
So how
And
does that
I,
translate now into you? You know, you're getting help, obviously. So how do you go from, being in a hospital to kind of correcting, auto correcting that path and getting into a healthy place in your life?
my relationships with people got better. I learned that it was okay for me to talk and be open with my feelings, that I didn't have to hold them in.
Okay.
I didn't
Did
have
this come to
to.
you like as a result of counseling, or all of a sudden in your mind you have this renewed sense of
Yeah,
purpose,
yeah.
so to speak?
So there was a lot of counseling that went
Okay.
on, but it really a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy with people, with different therapists and stuff. But majority of it came with me one day was like, this is gonna sound cliche, but it's like I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, man.
No,
Like
makes sense.
I'm
Yeah.
I am so tired of feeling this way whenever I know that I've been created for something so much bigger than this. And then I
Yep.
realized too that, and honestly, and I'm not ashamed to say it, was how much of this was I doing because I wanted attention from other people. I wanted people to feel bad for me, and I realized that I've got family members in my life that have passed on, but they had nothing wrong with them. They wanted the sympathy from people. So I had to wonder how much of that was generational too. Is that a generational? You can't change the things you don't acknowledge. So
Right.
I began to try to acknowledge those things. Is this real? And I do believe that it was, but why is it real? Is it's because I am causing myself to feel this way when I don't have to drink. Uh, you know, yes, I'm going to take my medications because I do believe that, I mean, 100% depression is real.
Yeah.
Mental health struggles are very, very real, but they can be managed, and sometimes it starts by just reaching out and asking for help.
Yep.
Um, in 2026 now, is, mental health is the most accepted. It's the most accepted than it's ever been now. And then I would think about, man, if I killed myself, it would destroy my mom. It would destroy
Sure.
my dad. Suicide affects three generations of people. It really does. I mean, my dad's brother committed suicide in 2007 or 8. I think it was 2007, and he's never he still thinks about that to this
I'm
day.
sure.
I
The
mean,
rest of his
that was
life.
almost 20 years ago. He worked with him every single day.
Yeah. I
Um,
describe it as like a cobweb on a windshield. You get a crack on a
Absolutely.
windshield and it starts splintering. And if you save that one person, look at how many people tangentially you're touching. And, obviously, if they take their lives, that's the amount of people. Just think about a wake. Those
Yeah.
people are not going to be at that wake for that person because he or she did not kill himself. those people are not going to be affected by that death. Those children are not going to be wondering if mommy and daddy did it because of them, and they're not going to be looking for love for the rest of their lives, which they're going to be looking to get replaced after their parent killed themselves. I mean, it is literally the most permanent solution to a temporary problem that affects so many other people. And unfortunately, I don't know if you have the same feeling, but most people feel like you're a burden when in fact you're not a burden. But if you kill
No,
yourself, you're taking, not only you now a burden, you're putting that burden on them for the rest of their lives.
that's right. You know, I think I was 16 years old. And, my mom was very in tune with me. She always knew when I was dealing with something. And I remember one night she wrote a letter and set it on my pillow. And at the end of it, it said, just remembers. It was basically a letter that's saying, hey, I know you're going through a lot. Whatever it was, I can't even remember now, but I
Yeah,
do remember this. She said, just remember there's always sunshine after the rain. And that, I have thought about that like for the last almost 30 years. You know, I've thought about my mom saying, there's always sunshine after the rain. And it's true. You know, these low spots that we're in is preparing you for something.
yep,
It doesn't mean that anything that you're not wrong for feeling the way that you feel, but
not at all.
you know, everything has an ending point. No matter what it is, things don't last forever.
Yeah,
And if you're in the valley, if you're listening to this tonight, you're in the valley, you know, life is teaching you something, whether it be perseverance, whatever the lesson is. There's a lesson to be learned in those moments, and sometimes it just might be finding out who you are, and also finding out who you're not, and who
yeah,
you're not going to be, because you will come out of it. And when you learn those lessons that you've had to face in the valley, you'll be prepared to be on the mountain later.
yeah.
Everything has an ending point. It just doesn't last forever. And, you know, of all the people that were created in the world, there's only one of you, and you were made
Exactly.
special, and you were destined to do great things.
Yeah, those
And,
points of contraction or the points when you're in that valley are some of the points in your life where you're going to be building. You don't even realize this sometimes, but you have to sit with that pain. And most of the time, it's teaching you a lesson. And no one can tell you what it is. Sometimes it'll take years to figure out what it is, but I
yeah,
promise you, it's there for a reason. Sit with it, feel it, process it, and then once you come out on the other side, it's going to make you a more healthy, more resilient person. And again, it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to be sad. No one says you're going to wake up every day of your life, be happy. But when you experience those periods of sadness, you're truly going to appreciate those highs and those points of happiness. It's, you can't just go through life on this upswing and everything is, singing kumbaya and shit and rainbows. It just
yeah,
doesn't happen.
yeah.
It's never going to.
Have you ever seen the movie The Bridge? It's about the San Francisco Bay Bridge, and it's like one of the most,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that.
yeah.
Yeah, about
So
suicide.
yeah, so there's a story about a man that jumped off the bridge and committed suicide, and basically his life, he was in the lowest spot in his life, and um, they said that when his friends went to his apartment to clean his stuff out, or to gather his things, there was a message on the answer machine. And one of the things was he was trying to find a job, I think, and he couldn't find a job, and there was a message on his machine offering him a management position at a job that he had so desperately hoped for. And that's just what I'm saying is there is sunshine after the rain. There is the ending point. Um, sometimes it's not killing yourself. It's just taking a look at what needs to die inside of you and
Hmm.
declare it and move on from it and say, because if you look back, like now at 43, I have a little boy, um, I have a family, I have all these things. And I look back and I'm like, thank you, God, that I did not follow through. Because sometimes when we think about our situations, we want our situations to change so bad. Sometimes it's more or less of saying, you know what, change me. And when
Yeah,
you get on the other side of that and you look back, a lot of these issues, they're not even going to mean what they did to you, because your feelings change. Your gut doesn't, but your feelings change. They just can't be trusted sometimes, because you're going to feel differently. I remember before I was a parent, I had feelings. I said, when I have a kid, they're not going to do this and they're not going to do that. But now that I have kids, I'm like, oh, my mind's changed a little bit on certain things. It's just Feelings are very deceptive. You have to
Oh
try,
yeah,
you just cannot follow your feelings. You got to follow your gut.
yeah.
Um,
I've had
you
two
know,
people on this podcast that pulled the trigger and it got misfired, and I've never had anyone that either in those two cases or who was about to commit suicide. I had one guy who had the gun. Son came down the stairs, caught him. Who said that they were not? Who said that they did not regret what had happened in terms of them stopping.
right.
It's been the greatest gift to them. They got their lives in order after that. And had they not done so, if they had followed through at that point in time, they obviously wouldn't have been around here to experience all the things they had experienced afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a life. Your life is meant to be lived, and your life is meant for you to become whoever it is that you're destined to be. Whatever a lot of times, unfortunately, people stop dreaming. They give up on their dreams because they
Yeah,
got to know. Sometimes the no in your life, whether you're a person of faith or not, sometimes the no in our lives isn't the universe or God or whatever being mean. It's it's for your protection and your provision, or it could be
yeah.
preparing you for a bigger yes, a bigger and greater yes. And that's something that I tell a lot of people within our ministry is say, you know what? You're in the valley. Life's trying to teach you a lesson. The Lord's building you. He's teaching you perseverance. But it could also be that whatever you're looking for may not be the best for you. And God's got you on hold to give you his best. Sometimes that no is not a no, it's a not right now. Or it could be
Yep.
no, I've got something better for you.
Yeah.
And I do believe that was something that changed my life is saying, you know what? Yeah, it sucks right now, and I don't want to hear about God or Jesus or any of this. I just want to feel this. And so I started telling myself, it's okay to feel it, just don't lay in it. You can feel it, just
Exactly.
don't lay in it. Get up. Get up and walk. Keep walking forward. Don't stop. And I've had to, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that, I don't still deal with these feelings sometimes because I do.
Everyone does.
But
We all think that number one, we're alone, and we all think everyone's got it figured out. First of all, no one has it figured out. I don't care
no,
who you are. I was talking to Taylor Cavanaugh, who's my mindset coach and now a good friend, and former SEAL, French Foreign Legionnaire. And he was telling me two specific guys that were on SEAL Team 6. Then they had, after they retired, businesses going. He's like, Mike, I thought they were on top of the world. And then they both imploded. And he's like, I realized at that point, no one's got this shit figured out. And
that's
it
right.
is 100% accurate. People are actors. They'll let you see what they want you to see. They'll portray on social media everything fine, but behind the scenes, they're not showing you any of the shitty shit that's going on. Everyone has highs and lows, and you're not alone. Unfortunately, there are millions of us, most of us, who are going through it. I don't want to see every day because, hey, most of life is beautiful, hopefully, but yeah, there's going to be times that suck. It's
Yep.
visceral pain, but it's
Yep.
temporary. It's
Yep.
life. Life's all about death and rebirth, is it not? We just lost
That's
a
right.
dog before Thanksgiving, and now we just got another one last week. So it was devastating when we lost her, and it happened over the course of 4 days. Broke our hearts, but now we have another dog. So that is life in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like with this death investigation stuff and seeing and with you being retired law enforcement, I mean the stuff that you see, I mean some of the most horrific things. Um, thriving in chaos, going through these things that you understand that you have a purpose in that is to be a lighthouse for other people. Um, you are a beacon of light for these families who are going through the worst moment of their life, and they didn't ask for you to be in their life, but you have been placed in their life, and so you have a choice at that moment. Do you want to be a help, or do you want to flash your badge and act like be a
Yeah.
be the tough guy? um, and so whenever I go through those times in my life, like I can post a video on social media where I'm sharing scripture, I'm talking and trying to encourage. Most of the time that's for me. That's because I'm dealing with something. You know, life's not, my life is far from perfect, man. I struggle, I've failed more than I've been successful. Uh, I deal with things too. I didn't just have a belief in God and my life got better. It actually got worse. Like in
Yeah.
some ways it got worse because I became aware of the things in my life that were hindering me and that I needed to give up, and I was too stubborn and selfish and didn't want to give them up until finally I had to get to that point where it was like, okay, I've had enough. Only you can determine and decide what you're willing to put up with.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to you. And that's a choice that a lot of us have to make is what am I willing to put up with? And for me, I wasn't willing to put up with living my life on the sidelines, wanting sympathy for God knows what. I can't even remember now because I've been so far removed from it. And it's the best decision I ever made, apart from my faith, was choosing to live this life, choosing to stand up and walk. I have this thing that I tell people sometimes, hey, take up your bed and walk. That's what we're commanded to do. You're commanded to be strong and be courageous. The ending is written before the story, the ending is already written before the story. So be
But
strong and courageous.
you're also the narrator of that story. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
You can change it. If you don't like the way the plot's going, then change it. No one's going to do it for you, but essentially you control the plot of that story. And if the storyline sucks, well, you know what? Get up and change it.
That's right.
That may include doing something tough, may include, whatever it is, going back to school, learning a new trade, whatever the case may be. But listen, man, this is a short life that we have. It flies by like that. And you can choose to sit there and wallow in pity and be a little bitch, for lack of a better word, or strap a pair on and
Right.
stand up. I love the speech that Sylvester Stallone gives his kid in Rocky Balboa about no one hitting harder than the punches of life. Like, I don't care how rich you are, how good looking, how strong, how funny, no matter who you are, no one is going to duck those punches of life. And once they hit, it's on you as to what type of man or woman you are. Are you going to sit down there on the ground? Are you going to get your ass up, dust it off, and get back in the game?
That's right. And that was me for a long time. Life would throw me the punches. I just lay down. And then one day I got tired. I got tired of being, and it's not about being weak. It's just about making your mind up and saying, you know what, get up.
Yeah,
Act like a man, get up, stand firm, plant your feet, start walking forward. And it's amazing. And it is a lot of it is a mindset change. You have to change, stop being a victim. It's okay to feel
yeah,
weak. It's okay to talk about your weaknesses, but don't play a victim.
exactly.
We have this sign in our gym that says "Nobody cares, work harder," and I just love that because it's like, okay, it's
Yeah,
so true, and it's like, and people that worry about what other people think about them, you can probably quit worrying about that because we live in a selfish world. There's less people worried about you than you think.
exactly.
I'm too worried about myself. We're too worried about ourselves. There's less people talking about you than you think
Yep.
because they're too busy worried about themselves. So if you have that feeling of, oh, you think everybody's talking about them, hey, I'm reading a new book right now. It's called Let Them by Mel Robbins. I know you've probably heard of her. Um,
Yeah, yeah. My wife loves
yeah,
her.
yeah. Hey, yeah. Let them. So what? You know what? Everybody's going to have opinions, but you know what? The loudest boos come from the cheapest seats, and there's a million people that are just waiting for you to fail. Prove them wrong.
Oh
Prove them
yeah.
wrong.
People do not punch down, brother. They only punch
Yeah,
up. So you can
yeah.
experience that jealousy and many other emotions that people don't want to see people do better than them. Unfortunately, um, so you're going to experience that. So it's going to come in the form of negativity. And listen, if they no longer serve you as friends, family, I don't care what it is, and I'm not talking about like using them sort of way. I'm talking, do they bring positivity and um, you know love into your life, or is it just negativity that's bringing you down because they're down? Well, you know what? It may be time to shed them. Hey, people come into your life for a season, and maybe it's time to shed them and get other ones in, get them out, and get other ones in because that negative energy is good for no one.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people that talk the most and that criticize the most, they don't have the courage to stand up and do whatever it is that you're doing. Um, that's just straight up. I mean, there's a lot of people, they want to see you fail because they are scared to stand up and do it. And you know what? You got one life to live. You know, if you're scared, do it scared. I know that it's hard. If it's hard, anything that's hard to do is usually worth doing. Um,
Yeah,
when it gets hard, that's when people quit. And I say that all the time. When I can't do one more, I can't do this, or I can't do that. I'm like, you know what? This is when most people quit, and I'm not most people. I've been most people for a really, really long time, but I drew that line in the sand and said, today I'm going to be different. And I have that, Mike, I have that conversation every single morning when the alarm clock goes off and it's 25 degrees in South Georgia, which is crazy, which it never
Yeah, it is.
happens. And I'd rather stay in my bed. I have to say, you know what? Are you going to be weak today or are you going to be strong? So I roll out of bed and then I have to get to the gym and I get there and then I see other people that are in there and then I start to feel intimidated or I start to feel less than. I'm like, nope, nope, not today. You're going to get in there and you're going to get it done. And then it just kickstarts my day with positive self-talk. And I'm not talking about happy affirmations. I'm more like, dude, let's go. Like,
Yeah,
bro, you're strong and capable. Start acting like it. And we all are
yep,
strong and capable, even when we don't feel like it. Sometimes, hey, you got to fake it until you make it sometimes, buddy.
yeah,
Like sometimes, like I have to tell myself, it's like, you know, dude, you're it, man. Get in there and get after it. When I get on stage in front of people, people don't know this. As many times that I play music live, I'm always nervous. I'm always second guessing myself. But the one word that I've stopped using is imposter syndrome because I'm up there doing it. So that doesn't make me an imposter. Like I'm up there
nope,
doing it. So get it out of your head. But I talked to some younger guitar players back last year, and I said, what y'all don't know is before I came out, I was dealing with so much self doubt. I was dealing with, man, I'm not good enough and all this stuff. And they said, man, I'm really surprised to hear you say that because I thought that you just knew exactly what you were doing. And I'm like, we all deal with that.
oh yeah,
We all deal with feeling less than. That's normal.
yeah. Hey, it's natural to have fear. Everyone has. I don't care who you are. And if you say you don't, you're lying. But if it doesn't stop you, it's perfectly healthy. So once it
That's right.
stops you from doing things, then it becomes a problem. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
even better to have that fear because you feel better about yourself after you do whatever it is you were afraid of doing and you conquer that. And you're like, holy shit, that's it? Like, that was a
Yeah.
piece of cake. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that's what happens. And then
Ab-
afterwards, you're like, man, I can do whatever. I probably had like 10, 11 SEALs on my podcast. And I'm like, I can't imagine the feeling you guys had after Hell Week. Because for the rest of your life, I'm sure if I went through it every day of my life, I would think when I woke up, man, there's nothing that could stop me. I fucking did Hell Week. There
Yeah.
was nothing that could stop me. Only me. I could stop
Yeah.
myself. There's nothing out there that could do it.
Yeah. Was it David Goggins said that when you think you're done, you're only 60% done. You still have 40% left in the tank. And that's so true. Like you have no idea. And if you're listening to this tonight, like you have no idea what you are truly capable of. Like you have no idea. When you think you're done, you're not even close. You can keep going. You know what? It's like Marcus Luttrell said, I'm going to draw a line and I'm going to crawl to this line. And if I make it to that line, I'm going to draw another line and I'm going to crawl to that line. And he was dying. He was dying. And sometimes that's got to be us. If you are crawling in your life not, right now, draw a line and crawl to that line.
Yeah.
And when you get there, draw another one because eventually you're going to reach where you're going. Even if you think you're lost, you're not. You keep drawing that line and you keep pulling yourself up to it. You will eventually get out of whatever season you're in. You will get out of it. It will come to an end, and you will be standing triumphantly, and you'll be alive to tell your story. Think of the story that you can tell when you come out the other side, and just how many people you can affect just by hanging on and crawling to that next line because it is
Yeah.
so worth it. It is so worth
And, and how proud of yourself you'd be. Like, I was doing
it.
breath work today with a coach in preparation for my Ibogaine journey in March. And I was lying on the ground. It was a Zoom call. So he had me take a deep inhalation, deep exhalation, and hold. And I'm sitting there, and after like 20, 30 seconds, man, I'm dying to take a breath. But I'm like, nah, calm down, calm down. You don't need the breath. Calm down, calm down. Bro, I went almost another 30, and I was like, holy shit. And listen, it's a small example, but it was just another one of those things where your mind is the strongest muscle in your body. And I just calmed myself down, told myself I didn't need it. You could just keep going, keep going, keep going. And there are so many things that applies to in life.
Yeah, absolutely. You are just, we're all so capable of doing so much more, and we are, we're built and born with resilience in our DNA. I mean, when you look, I mean, think
Yep.
about way back before civilization, and I mean, you think about the conditions that, the settlers had to face, and you think about, like, we are just so much more capable. We're just used to being comfortable, so sometimes it's just a matter of just getting used to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like right now, like, you're in the tiniest amount of pain, they're going to give you pain medicine, and people
Oh
are
yeah.
now addicted to morphine now, or addicted to all sorts of different medications because they just didn't want to feel the slightest bit inconvenience. It's like the other day down here, our phones went out for you know,
6
almost
hours
all
or
day.
whatever.
And people were like,
Yeah.
they were freaking out that the phones
Oh
went out.
yeah.
And I was like, man, finally, I can just relax. I feel the need to, like, check my phone and stuff. But, um, life is so worth living, and you have so much power that rests inside of you. And I always like to remind people, if you're a person of faith, you have resurrection power in your DNA. It is
Yeah.
within you. Um, you know, you may feel like you're in the tomb right now, but guess what? Then that tomb's going to open up and you can walk right out of it because it's
Yep.
it's in you. That spirit is living within inside of you. And so many people, I heard that the other day, and man, it fired me up. So you have resurrection power in your DNA. It is true. The same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives within inside of me and lives within inside of you if you're a believer. So there you go, right there. You will rise again. You may be in the valley, but hang on because a
Yeah.
breakthrough is coming.
Yeah. It's all within us. I talk about even psychedelics. I changed my life, and I tell people it's the psychedelics just essentially take down the walls that have surrounded you and let you see things from a different perspective, experience different things. But everything is inside you, and that's going to be the only thing that carries you through life. There's no external force or external anything that's going to help you. It's like when people move or they change jobs or try to distract themselves. You can do whatever you want, man, but you're still never running away from the guy looking back at you in the mirror. You can go wherever you
Yeah.
want. You can do whatever you want. It's that cat looking at the mirror that you're going to have to reconcile yourself with. And you can do everything you want. You're never getting away. And until you decide to deal with him or her looking back, you're never going to fully heal from whatever it is you're going through.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I say this: I lay down at night, and it's I'm face to face at night with my own self. When the music stops, when the tractor's turned off, and all this stuff, I have to determine, like, okay, what kind of day did I earn my right to come home today? Was I worthy of my hire today? And if I've made mistakes, say, you know what? If everything works out, I can get up and start again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, Staying consistent with learning who you are. Stay consistent. Don't spend hours a day on brain rot stuff. Find something that can YouTube. Don't watch the junk. Find
Yeah.
pick something and find something, and you never know, man. Just that one little phrase, or that one quote, or that one piece may turn your life completely upside down.
Oh, yeah.
Investing in yourself is the greatest investment that you can ever make, is when you invest in yourself. For me, it was like, stop trying to be like this person. Just be you. There's only one of you. Figure out who you are.
Yep.
And and best decision that I ever made. And there I began to see that sunshine peek out through those rain clouds that my mama talked about. Was I began to say, you know what? I like me. I like who I am. I like the man that I am. I like what I stand for. And now let me just build off of that. Let me just build off of that and start fully becoming who I was intended and created to be. And if
Yeah.
you don't know, if you've got that idea of that person in your head, then start acting like that person and you'll become that person.
Yeah. It's funny you said that because I was talking to DJ Shipley and I said, brother, I'm proud of the man I am now. I was not, but I am now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I love life now. It's beautiful. And he was saying the same exact thing. He's like, brother, he's like, I love my life. He's like, I love my daughters. I love my wife. He's like, I did not like the man I was becoming or had become. He's like, I'm no longer that man. And he's like, I love myself too. And self love is the biggest piece of the puzzle. Once you do that, you're capable of loving others and having healthy relationships and helping others and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Have you ever made the comment, because I've done it. It's like so many times in my life when I was like, oh, well, when this happens, I'll finally be happy. Or
Yeah. Yep.
when I start making some money, I'm finally
Yeah.
going to be happy. And then
It's
you
the
start
journey,
making the
man. There's
money.
no destination.
Yeah. You realize that I was no happier when I made my first good bit of money as a farmer. It was literally like I was broke and then the checks came and I was exactly the same person. I just had more money in the bank.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, it's not about, we think so often that we have the discipline that we are going to change those things when our circumstances line up, but the time is now. There's no good
Hmm.
time to start becoming the person that you can be. It's right now.
Yeah.
um
Never going to be perfect
it's
anything.
it's it's not going to be when the kids finally move out or whenever you finally land that job. You're not disciplined enough. I'm not. None of us are disciplined enough. We just keep putting off. The Stoics say the Stoics say that the one thing that all fools have in common is they're all getting ready to start something, but they
Yeah.
never do. Like, they're all about to do it. And man, I've lived my life, Mike, as a fool for a very long
Oh,
time.
me
And then I
too.
realized, hey, there's no time but the present. Cliches work because they're true.
Yeah.
And that's just what I fully believe. And as much as that you and I have seen in our life, as far as our professions have been, death's been a massively huge part of your life, along with violence in and of itself, loss. It's the biggest part of my life for even now. Like I said, I mean, I'm doing this podcast from the funeral home because I have to work in just a few
Yep.
minutes. I have a job that I have to go do. This life is short, and you only get one shot at it.
Yeah. That's the
Um,
truth, brother.
you know,
True words have never been spoken.
yeah, I mean, you get one shot, and life is what you make out of it. And
Yep.
for me, I wanted to be a victim for the longest time, but you know what? It didn't change people from hurting me. Even though I wanted so desperately to have, you can't change somebody else's mind. Like, you
Mm-mm.
can't change them, or, um, worrying about stuff doesn't keep it from happening.
Yeah.
I said that the other day. I was sitting in the cemetery. I went to my mom's grave and I said, as much as I worried about her dying for so long, it didn't stop it from happening. In fact, the night that I wasn't worrying about it was the night that she died. I worried about her so much, but it didn't stop her from dying.
Yeah.
You know, like Rob O'Neill says, worrying about an RPG flying through this helicopter ain't going to stop it from happening.
Exactly.
So I just have to stop. Worrying is wasting your time. And you know
Yep.
what? If you're working on yourself and you're becoming the person you're created to be, if that does happen, you'll be so different by the time it happens that you probably won't even care.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
All right. Listen, brother, it's been fantastic speaking to you. If
you
anyone
too,
wants to
brother.
get in touch with you, how to do so, all your links will be in the bio as well, but just tell them how to, please.
So if you want to find me on social media, I only have an Instagram account. It's Joe Thompson 6842 at Instagram. You see what I'm up to. I'm flying to California tomorrow, but I'll still be very active on social media. If you need anything, I actually welcome. You can send me a private message. I will respond. If you need encouragement, if you need prayer, if you have questions, I'm a man of faith. I don't shy away from my faith. If there's something that I can help you with, please reach out to me. You can send me a direct message, and I promise you that I will respond. If you need prayer, I promise you that I will pray for you. If you even want me to call you and we can talk, I will call you. I have no limitations on sharing my faith with anyone.
Unbelievable. All right, Joe, I thank you once again. Guys, if you like what you saw, please hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Joe, thank you once again, brother.
Thank you, Mike.
Order, shot fired, officer down, shot fired, officer down. Got a city officer down, shot fired.
223, be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers in grid Papa uniforms.
Welcome to the Resilient Warrior Nation, a podcast dedicated to inspiring hope and healing for first responders, military veterans, and anyone facing PTSD and trauma.